Righto, in playing on the big girl again. Had a little oil seal leak after a breakage on a output drive flange. So that one there, can we see it properly? Yeah, that one there is the output drive flange. So there's a CV shaft down the wheel. That there is the diff output drive flange, and it just drives, it's just a little flange with a stub on it. In fact, looks like that. And it just pushes into this side of the diff like that, on this side, it pushes in, and it just clips in. It's held in position with, held into the diff with just that little clip. Oh, my head. And yeah, this seal was leaking. Now, the reason it was leaking is because I broke one of these. We'll get that in a minute. For now, I'm just replacing that seal because it was leaking. So I've just dropped these bolts out. He's dropped these bolts out of this CV shaft quite easily. These flange bolts. As you can see around here, like I'm on a hoist, but the same if you were out the bush with the car jacked up and the wheel off, you can see you can actually get in there with a few extensions. You can get to all those flange bolts and get to them if you've got enough extensions, and a 3/8 wobbly bit is all I used. But it's easier while the car's on the ground, the tyres gripping the ground, you just use a couple of, like a 17mm spanner, and you hook another spanner over it, and with the other spanner hooked over it, they just, you hook one spanner into the other for a bit of extra leverage, like this, sort of like that. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then when you've got that on, you've got like a good couple of feet there, and you swing on it, and because the car stopped, you can get to the bottom 3 bolts. And once you've got to the bottom 3 bolts, you just rotate the wheel, or just roll the car forward half a wheel rotation, then you get to the other 3, and they're all cracked. If it is broken, you can actually drive home from out the bush, no worries at all. You just make sure it is just that broken and it's not doing any damage, and then you can remove this CV, because if you don't, there's nothing holding it in there. Like if that breaks through there, which is where they break, just through there, or even here, if it breaks there, there's nothing holding this up. It just sits there and flops around. So you unbolt that CV, so those 6 flange bolts, and in this case a 36mm nut in there. So you take the 36mm nut out. Now I'll show you how we got it out. It's actually quite a bit of effort to get that out, but anyway, 36mm nut, that comes off. That CV shaft then just pulls it that way. After you've dropped the flange bolts, it just drops down, pulls out. It's very easy to do. We did it on the floor in a paddock, no dramas at all. And then you just put the car in in full drive. So you just click your knob round from auto, 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive, high range, and it just drives like a front-wheel drive car. So I drove home from Coffs to the Gold Coast like that. No dramas at all, doesn't harm anything. And so I've been told by people who should know that it doesn't harm anything. And if you really were a bit tricky and stuck where you were, you could leave it in 4-wheel drive and actually probably just put your rear diff lock on, and that'll still make 1-wheel drive. Thing you got to remember, if you do break that, if you break that output drive shaft, when you put your park brake on, it doesn't actually hold the car. So if your handbrake's useless like mine, well, I say it's useless, a lot of people say it's not, so I shouldn't call it useless till I prove that it is useless. But my handbrake gets adjusted just by Nissan or wherever it's going for a service all the time, and it's useless. So anyway, I'm going to call it useless for now. Guilty until proven otherwise. But yeah, you got to remember that the handbrake being a bit ordinary, if you park on a hill and it's in park, the park won't grab because you've got your LSD in the back, that's fine, but you've got no load on this side. So it just rolls. The park brake just doesn't do anything, which is worth thinking about if you're in, even when I was in full drive, the park brake does nothing. The car just rolls down the hill. Anyway, interesting thing to be careful of if you do break one of these. Don't have to pull that out the bush and drive home without it. What else? Nothing. So to get that seal out, I just use these big, these things. They're bigger than the ones in my tool bag, so I'm actually going to make sure that the ones in the tool bag do the same job. And then I just basically stick that in, whatever angle you can get it at, in behind there, and just go yank, and that comes out. That one's all split and horrible. And here we have a brand new one, which I got from Patrol Apart. It was the people that had them in stock. Genuine Nissan, oil seal, blah blah blah. So I'll keep that clean over here for a minute, and I'll tap that back into that housing. I'll just have a quick look in there, make sure there's no gunk in there actually. There's my torch. Yeah, looks okay. I gave a bit of a wipe with the rag. After all this, obviously I'll check the oil level, which you undo the plug from up there. You should be able to stick your finger, when you take that plug out underneath there, you should be able to stick your finger in there and feel oil. Just to make sure I haven't lost too much. Not sure how much I lost, but it's not that, yeah, there's not that much oil under here. Half that could be CV, or half that feels like CV grease. Anyway, got to watch that as well. So ideally you just don't break one. I think only a few of us have broken them. So once again, I must be on the spectrum of misbehaving. Didn't break any CVs, but I broke that output shaft, which is really weird. And Nissan had none in Australia. Their price was very reasonable, like 220 bucks, but none in Australia, which is a worry. Anyway, hopefully as these things become more popular, a few people have parts for them. That would be the ideal world. I'll have a quick look over here, see if I've got the old axle, the broken bit. There's the remnants of the socket we used to get it off. Right. Now, for whatever reason, this broke rather than a CV, which is unusual, and what I did at the time it broke was nothing. It was very mild, so once again, I'm presuming it was already a bit pre-stressed. Bit hard to tell looking at that, but as usual, it breaks right on the edge of the radius. Where the machined radius, they put that radius on there to relieve stress, so it's not just a square edge to break on, but there you go, it's still broke anyway. Back to putting all this back together, so I'm going to put that new seal in there now, tap it in, and then, you notice I've got the arms out, don't worry about that, the arms are out for a different reason. The lower control arms, sitting here, that's out for a different reason, so just thought we'd have a look at that. Removal and replace of that, oh yeah, when you do undo those bolts, I said, and drop that down. I didn't really show you, but all you do is shove a lever like anything will do. Here's what I prepared earlier, this one here. All you do is you put that between somewhere nice and firm on the dip housing and the flange, like that, and you just like give it a pull. It just levers out. If it doesn't lever out, we can do this instead. We can put that up like that and just give it a little tap with a hammer. It comes out. All you've got to overcome is that little spring clip which sits in a groove inside the diff. So that's all you've got to overcome. So it's just a little tap and it comes out. It just really holds it in position, doesn't do much else. So there's the seal tapped in. So when you do break the end off a drive shaft like I did and it's stuck in your diff, you just take the CV shaft off the other side, put a punch through this hole and just give it a tap and it just punches that broken bit out the side. Now we'll just push the drive shaft back in. Same thing, give it all a good wipe off. Just nice and gentle with all this so you don't damage the seal. You'll feel that mesh with the teeth, the spline, shouldn't call them teeth. And then just have to get it past that clip. So I'm going to put the phone down, I think, for a sec here. I might be able to tap it in. Sorry about that. There you go, click. So that should be all in. Yep, and you can feel it just got bugger all movement. That's just sitting nicely on that clip. Now this will just go, this flange will just go back up there and I'll bolt her on. I've just got to hang on that strap temporarily, so it should go up reasonably easily. Not with one hand, it won't. So yeah, A bit like a Chinese puzzle, you just got to tilt it back slightly, it goes up anyway. I say all this is easier while it's on a hoist, of course, but you may actually have to do it out the bush if you break one, and if you're lucky you'll have a mechanic or someone who knows what he's doing around. Oh yeah, so I just have to rotate this wheel now, I think, to try and... Oh, handbrake's on. Good on you. Just to line them back up and put all the bolts back on. Do them up, I do always nip them right up. Each one just by hand first, right as tight as I go before I start getting any big torque wrench or whatever onto it. And I haven't sussed out the torque settings yet on them, but I will definitely torque them up with a big torque wrench to where they should be. And not sure if you need to. Mechanics, I know mechanics don't get you to come back to the shop, but I will probably check them again after a few big drives, because I know on that car, as soon as I've had any CV joint bolts undone, the next 3 uses of the car, or floggings of the car in that case, these will actually, you'll get more out of them, you get another bit of a turn. So I'll actually check them, don't know if you have to. If you torque them up properly, you shouldn't have to, but I do with that, so I'll just check them anyway. I'm a bit of a spanner check person. I like knowing nothing's going to fall out. That comes from years of having one of them. Righto. Oh yeah, another go. Try and line those suckers up. Oh, with the handbrake off. Oh, that's better. Oh. Beautiful. There you go, all bolted back on. Beautiful. Now just to check the diff oil and a bit of a clean up before we put the new arms in. So, change the CV, we're going to get this 36mm nut off. That is on there so strong. We've had a breaker bar on there and a bit of pipe and reversed on it, and it actually broke the breaker bar, so that's no good. So now we've come to this place where old mate fixes trains. He's lent us all this stuff. We've got Mason there grinding, but over here we've got all old bits off trains. So we've got this huge ass arm. Look at this. He's given us this arm off some old train thing, which we've grinded up, and the welder and everything. What a good bloke. Bugger me, that actually worked. So, bits of train, bits of just crap welded together by Sparkies. Socket donated by Mark, he doesn't know it yet.
Thanks, G.
Thanks, mate. And Micah and his train shop.
Good thing, yeah. Good thing.
Nice work. So, it wasn't until we got the CV shaft out that we worked out the CV shaft is fine, and it's this sucker broken. So this is the diff output drive shaft, and it was just still attached to the CV but just flogging around where it came from in here. If we can get in here and see, up in there. So it was just flogging around in that seal, so it's buggered the seal. But that bit is a clean break, so that's why it wasn't making too many noises, which makes a bit of sense. We're a bit surprised by that at first. So summing up, after the incident on the hill, we backed down a bit, put it in four-wheel drive, had no wheels driving in the back, put the diff lock on, found we had one driving, came back to get the CV out. We made up this dodgy looking socket contraption just to get enough leverage, because with this breaker bar that I thought would be ample, we just snapped the end off it. We couldn't move it by hand, so we had a bit of pipe on it, and we sort of reversed on it to try and get it to move, but no, just snapped that. To remove this CV shaft, the good news is the CV shaft's okay, and that's the expensive part. The drive shaft is a lot cheaper, although a bit harder to get. And what I do now is I've taken it for a drive, it's all good. I drive it on front wheel drive, so basically I just put it in 4 high and it drives like normal on the road. It's all good. I didn't even notice any difference, and that's even in, I've got 20 pounds in the tyres still. So there you go, there's the summary of my weekend so far. And when it broke, it was a really simple little hill, it was nothing. like it shouldn't have broken. And if you look at it, that there is way thicker steel than any of that. So I'm confused, but there you go. We'll call it a manufacturing flaw, not my right foot. So Mark kindly invited me out in his short wheelbase Jeep for the rest of the day. Hey. Oh Jesus! Is it a short wheelbase thing?
No.
Bit tight, Pedro. Oh my God. Not much room to flex in there. What do we end up with? 44.5 and an old patrol bush split for our dyes and shit. Jesus.
Yes, please. Alright, well, at the moment I'm down at near the general store on the corner.
Have a scary look. What do you reckon? How cool is that?
They're fucking heavy, bro.
Well, I couldn't go red because Lukey went red. I know they're bloody heavy. Oh,
That's like fucking porn, isn't it?
it is. It's like 62 porn. Oh. That colour looks good, I reckon. I don't know why I'm looking after him because as soon as I'm in the car. Oh. Wow. For someone who's not really into bling, they're pretty flash.
Oh, fucking scratch it, man. Like, fuck.
Mate, they're going to be under the car getting...
I'm just going to try it. It might not work, but... Yeah.
Going to be tricky without a with a hand pump one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you don't have
What do you reckon, dog? Blessed.